Hello. So today we're going to be talking about sex. I love talking about sex. Um, Sex is such a cool thing. It's it can be such a beautiful experience in so many different ways, and it can be fun. Discovering another person's body is also such a beautiful experience. When you meet someone who you can vibe with sexually, and like there's just like this connection, it's such a delicious experience, isn't it? So I don't know, I've always loved sex and I love talking about it. So um in this video I wanted to talk a little bit about casual sex, maybe even get into soul ties. What else? Just there's like an idea that I really want to get into. And so, yeah, let's just get into it. So, I think I mentioned in a video maybe like 2 weeks ago, but like as I uploaded this, probably it'll be 2 weeks, about sex. I had written a thread on Twitter talking about casual sex and how I'm not interested in having it anymore. And just to clarify, by the way, just because I am not interested in having it anymore doesn't mean that I think it's wrong, which I think people always conclude that if you say something is not for you, you're calling it wrong. For me, I don't see things as wrong and right. I see them as beneficial and not beneficial for most things. Of course, there are obvious things, like if hurting other people deliberately, to me, that's just a no-no. But I don't see life as black and white. I feel like there's so many things that lead us to do the things that we do. There's so many factors, that lead a human to behave the way that they do. So just because in this season of my life I don't feel like casual sex is serving me doesn't mean that it didn't serve me, if that makes any sense. So there's this idea that I've seen a lot of people talking about, even in the spiritual community, especially like on YouTube and Instagram and on social media generally, where the Christians talk about it in terms of soul ties, but the spiritual community talks about it in terms of energy exchange. And it's this idea that having sex with a person opens you up to their energy, and that you can unknowingly, I guess, get tied up in their dysfunctions. Usually it's, especially in the Christian definition, it's usually just bad things that you get, I guess, from people. And the idea behind this is that sex is a sacred act that opens you up. In some of the spiritual community, they talk about your chakras being opened and you connecting with the chakras of the other person. And so there'll be this energetic exchange where you gain their energy and you lose your energy into them, and I guess you remain with each other's energy. When I thought about this, like it's a concept that I've had over a lot of years, first as a Christian hearing it in soul ties, then as in this spirituality hearing it as energetic exchange. And I was like, there was something like I have believed, there was a time that I kind of believed it, but it still didn't fully sit right with me, and I didn't understand why. And then there was like a time this year on Twitter, there was a lot of conversation around it, and I was just like, yes, but no, this is how I see it. There's truth to it, because I do believe that we exchange energy. But for me, I don't see sex as the only place that we exchange energy. I feel like you exchange energy with people all the time, which is why you hang out with certain people and you feel refreshed, and you hang out with certain people and you feel drained. I feel like just as humans, we are always engaging in each other's energy, especially if you're not conscious about it, and your intentions or your subconscious patterns of behavior allow you to just be open up to whatever. And you can get tangled up in people. You can get, especially if you have this idea that you're lacking in some way, or like you don't have personal power. There's a lot of energetic dynamics that go into interacting with people, from just conversations and friendships and relationships to sex to, like, I feel like it happens across the board. So I don't see sex as something special that has a particular kind of energetic exchange. And this is my personal, my personal opinion. What I do know is how you engage in it determines what you get from it, if that makes any sense. So for example, actually when I see people talking about this thing of soul ties, for me I see it even more as an emotional or mental dynamic that is unhealthy and that is based on how people interact with each other during sex. So let me give an example. If I decide that I don't feel sexy and I want to, and for me feeling sexy is tied into my self-worth, and I want to feel sexy so that I feel better about myself and I feel like I am worthy. And I go and find, now I'm attracting people, like I want to have sex and I have this like need, I'm attracting these people to me. I need it. I need you to come and have sex with me and make me feel sexy so that I feel worthy about myself, so that I feel like I have worth. So I go out looking for that. I'm going to attract people who will create a very unhealthy dynamic with me, unless there's a person who is very spiritually conscious and sees that behavior in me and can call it out and be like, no, I'm going to engage with you in this way. And they're able to separate themselves. Let's say there's someone who's attracted to me, but they're able to see that, but they can see that they want to be with me, but so they can interact with me consciously, not engaging in that dynamic. Generally, I will attract people who will be, coming in with their own drama or with their own dysfunction, because this whole universe is a vibrational universe. So like attracts like, and it fits together. So I'll probably attract someone who likes to have either like power games, or they like to feel powerful and want to have control over someone unconsciously. Maybe they don't even think this consciously. So we attract each other, and on the surface it looks like we're having sex, but because we are open and like we have these dysfunctions that are happening on an energetic level, then what will tend to happen is that an unhealthy dynamic will start, and we'll become unhealthily attached to each other. That will begin to affect our emotional and mental state. So that's how I see it. It's like a level deeper than what we imagine it is, if that's making sense. So that's why I don't really buy into this idea that casual sex automatically equals that you're going to be unhealthily attached to people, because I have personally experienced having casual sex in healthy ways that feels fun, and we're not really attached to each other emotionally, but we're just exploring each other and just enjoying each other. And I've also experienced the unhealthy sexual dynamics where I've had to have cord-cutting rituals afterwards to detach my energy from these people, because I was coming to the interaction not with the powerful intention, not standing in my own power, but rather trying to gain something through some inauthentic or low vibrational ways. So it's all about the intention that you come to sex with. I think if you come, just like with anything, even in your relationships, you've probably experienced relationships in your lives, like your life, that were very unhealthy, whether it's with family members or with friends or romantic relationships, where it's like you both were seeking something that wasn't clear, but it was a very dysfunctional thing underneath, a very low vibrational thing. So you come and you feed off each other's energy, and you become like this symbiotic, parasitic type of dynamic where you're just trying to draw energy from each other to feed your life force. And it ended up being a very unhealthy thing where now you had to detach from them, and it took some time and it was very painful. There are these dynamics that happen not just in sex. It's just a general way. If you're not owning your personal power as a human divine being, then you are going to find yourself in a lot of unhealthy situations, because if you're not conscious with yourself and setting very clear intentions for how you want to show up, then you're probably on some default subconscious autopilot programming. you can also be in a monogamous relationship, even in a marriage, but have a very unhealthy sex life, have very unhealthy dynamics. So it's not about the number of people that you're having sex with, and it's not about, whether you're monogamous or polyamorous or whatever, like whatever floats your boat, as long as you're being safe and taking care of each other, whatever, like that doesn't matter. For me, what I see that is the thing that matters the most is the intention that you come with. So that's the conversation that I feel would be of benefit. Before you're engaging in anything, have you understood why you're putting yourself in that situation? Number one. Have you looked within yourself to see if you're trying to find validation in someone else, or are you trying to feed yourself with someone else when you should be doing it for yourself? Have you come to this interaction acknowledging the divinity of this person? Are you able to see them as a being that deserves respect, that deserves, concern, and like, are you treating them with respect? Are you being safe? Are you taking care of each other? Like, those are the things that I feel would really benefit us as we talk about sex. And that would also, really be helpful when we are talking to young people about sex as well, because there's this amazing denial that we have that I see. And when I see it these days, I'm like, Yani, we're still trying to deny that not talking about sex is unhealthy. I mean, how many of us have experienced the unhealthy patterns that come with us not being able to openly talk about sex and to openly explore it in safe and healthy ways? My parents had a very hard time talking to me about sex. And if it wasn't for my big sister, who, whether I liked it or not, I don't even know why she used to talk to me and just give me like information about sex. But you see, it really helped me have an attitude towards it that was healthier. I had a lot more knowledge actually than my age mates. So when it came time for me to have sex, and thankfully I ended up with like the person who I was having sex with the first time, he was such a loving, like he loved me and really appreciated me. So it was such a beautiful experience. And if it wasn't for the fact that I'd had this knowledge from my big sister, but also had this person in my life, and to be honest, I don't know how, I feel like it's just luck that I ended up with this guy, or, just like my soul's journey. But that relationship taught me that sex is a beautiful thing, and it's not shameful, and he was very present and cared a lot about my pleasure. So I understood pleasure with that guy, and that framed the rest of my experiences for the rest of my life. But a lot of people are not as fortunate as this, and we have to stop treating sex with this detachment, like it's something that we cannot get into in healthy, like, we can't talk about, we have to like shut it up. I remember just on Twitter a couple of days ago, I was seeing this conversation about sex toys, and people were talking about how there's this particular lady who's very sex positive, and she was talking about how she would buy a sex toy for her young kid, teenage kid, probably around from like, I think she said from like 12 to 17, and of course very small and simple sex toys, not like anything crazy. But to her thinking was that, kids experiment. I mean, when I was in high school, we had people using test tubes. First, what if something happens? What if it breaks? Like, I used to hear horror stories. And, I've heard of people inserting things like carrots and cucumbers. Wouldn't it be better if they actually got education on healthy sex toys that can be used by a young body, But guys really were upset with the idea of a parent buying a sex toy. Some people were calling it grooming for sexual abusers, And I felt like it's not a bad thing to disagree or, agree or disagree. I don't know what I'd do. I feel like it would have to be something that I would feel into. Thankfully, I'm not having children, so I don't even know. I won't know what that feels like. But just even the openness to have a conversation rather than immediately shut something down with fear and immediately assume that this is going to lead to sexual abuse. Why not just allow the conversation to happen and open yourself up to see maybe there could be a different way, even if you're not going to buy. I feel like that's a personal choice. I'm not saying you should buy your kids sex toys or don't buy your kids sex, like whatever you feel like is safe and healthy for your child, and you and your child can talk about it and decide it. But the point is to be able to have that conversation with each other. Like, talk about sex with your kids. Make them understand that their bodies are beautiful things that need to be treated with, that deserve to be treated with love and respect from them and with other people. Build up their sense of self-worth with them so that they feel like they want to engage with sex, whether it's with one person or multiple people, because you can't really control what your kids are going to do. I mean, how many generations do we need to prove that? My parents didn't want me to have sex until marriage. I waited until I was 18, so I mean, people are going to have sex. Generations have proved it over and over again. So rather than trying to sweep this under the rug and call it, shameful and we don't do this, we don't do that, how about just engaging with each other and with our children, or the kids in, like me, I talk to my niece about sex, stuff like that. Like, engage in healthy dialogue about this so that the shame that's around it can start to dissipate. I feel like it has to start internally first, though. This idea that, it's weird because more than ever we are more vocal about sex, but we're still holding on to very many hang-ups around it and trying to shame each other. And that's why I don't agree. Okay, I know I'm all over the place, but anyway, used to how I talk. That's why I don't agree with this idea, that we have to label things like casual sex is immediately not good if you're a spiritual person. No, back up. What if it is a way that I want to experience myself? What if I'm polyamorous? There's so many factors to it, and I don't think we can put a label on something and try to like generalize it across the board. I feel like that's a very dangerous way to exist. Life expresses itself in so many beautiful, amazing, what's the word? There's so many ways for life to express itself. We don't know all the expressions of life. We don't know all the expressions of sexuality. So rather than just saying that this is wrong, don't do this, how about taking it to another level and talk about the consciousness that we bring to it? That's basically what I wanted to say in this video. So let me know what your thoughts are. Just know your intention, know what you're bringing. Oprah said this beautiful thing when she said, be responsible for the energy that you bring into this space. So with whatever you're doing, just be responsible for the energy that you're bringing in. Know why you're doing it. Know what it is that you're bringing. Know how you want to carry yourself in everything that you do. Know what energy you're bringing into every situation, sex or otherwise. So let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Share this video if you want to. Like it if you want to. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sending you so much love. And remember, above everybody else, you deserve your own unconditional love and acceptance. I'll see you in the next video.